welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to be looking at another video on Angel Island. This is an interview found on the website for the Angel Island Immigration Station Foundation. So this is the group of people that got together to preserve this and make it into a historical site. This is a about 12.5-minute video. Again, it's an interview with Benson Wong, who came to the United States from China in 1928. He was 12 years old, and he stayed at the hospital. So he was sick. He had a skin disease. He had scabies. So he was also, if you are following the channel, he is what's called a paper son. So I believe it was his uncle. His uncle was a natural born citizen of the United States. So he was pretending to be his uncle's son in order to get into the United States. He was 12 years old. Now he talks about, I think he's in his 90s in this video. So he talks about how they were actually, as opposed to other people, he was well treated in the hospital. They were nice to him. Obviously there was a language barrier, but the nurses were nice to them. They were able to go outside and play. Again, he was 12 years old. He was still considered a child. I think, if my remembering correctly, he would have been sent off with the men had he not been ill. But he was 12 years old, so at 12 years old. But in the hospital, he was considered a child. So they got better food. They got to play outside, which was rare in the other detention centers. He did, I think he says, it's very obvious that he's in his 90s, and he has a hard time remembering. Again, he was 12 years old. This was a long time ago. How long his interview took, but as if you've watched my other videos on Angel Island, particularly for someone like him, who was a paper son, he had a lot of memorizing to do. So those interviews are extremely detailed. We are talking, how many windows were in your house? How many windows were, how was your village designed? Who was living in this house? Who was living in this house? Where was this well? Type of thing. And they had to get everything right, or they'd be sent back. Because, as I've mentioned in other videos, as opposed to Ellis Island, who were welcoming immigrants, Angel Island was certainly not. They were literally doing the opposite. Their job was to keep as many, particularly Chinese out as possible. So he was there, I think, a couple of months before his uncle came, and before he was cleared, and his uncle came and got him, and he was able to leave the island. But it's an extremely interesting video. This is one of the few where you get a first-hand account of someone who went through the experience of Angel Island. So it's about 12 minutes, 30 seconds. It's a really interesting video. I've mentioned this in I think my first video, which I filmed a few minutes ago, that you guys will see on this topic. This is an extremely interesting topic to me, because you just don't learn about it. I never heard about it prior to researching Asian history. I grew up in Hawaii, so why Angel Island wouldn't have been on the radar, essentially, because I grew up in Hawaii. But next to San Francisco and places in California, of all places, Hawaii was full of, obviously, Asian immigrants. But yeah, it was never brought up. As far as I know, it was never brought up when I was in high school. We studied Ellis Island. And from what obviously this is not a substantiated account, from what I've seen on Reddit, most people even in San Francisco don't learn about Angel Island because, of course, the U.S. is ashamed of we're very, very racist. And this only changed when we entered World War II and became friends with the Chinese. Sort of. We're not exactly friends with the Chinese. But nonetheless, this is a really interesting interview. Again, this is from the Angel Island Foundation, and this guy is in his 90s. So it's interesting to hear, because again, they're asking him questions. They're kind of awakening his memory. He's in his 90s. Just imagine your own great grandparents trying to remember the past. It's tough. He was 12 years old. But again, very, very interesting video. Not very long. Great addition to homeschoolers covering Angel Island, or anybody who's really interested in the history of the Angel Island immigration station and the exclusion issues going on with Asians up until World War II. Because I believe Angel Island was running from 1910 or something, or 18 something into 1920. Or no, it ran. I know it closed around. I think it closed around 1920. It might have closed around 1940. Let me double check this video. Does it tell me this guy came in 28? But yeah, I'm sure I noticed that mentioned it in other videos. How long it lasted, but before it burned down. Yep, and they just didn't bother rebuilding it. Well, the administration building burned down. And they didn't bother rebuilding it because there's a lot of the other buildings still remain because it was made of wood. We will go under, it was designed like Ellis Island, but we will check those out in those videos. So, like and subscribe. Leave a positive comment if you have one. Check out my Angel Island videos. Incoming will be my Ellis Island videos. I have a bunch of other stuff. I'll be following this with cooking, and then women inventors, and Beauty and the Beast, and a bunch of other stuff. Along with, I believe at the time you guys watch this, I will be reviewing the Boxcar Children. So you can check out the rest. And so check out the rest of the channel. Thank you.